Hi there, welcome back to Mastering the Young Band. Today I want to talk about a strategy I use, especially with my beginners in the first quarter, and that is a beginning band progress report. You want to celebrate all the great things your kids have learned in the first quarter of band, but you also want to help out those parents that are wondering why their kid is struggling in band because they're not practicing or doing their homework. At least at my school, we have a music requirement, and so I have about 10 to 15% of my beginners are only in band because it's a music requirement. They didn't want to sing and they didn't want to play an orchestra, so they chose band. Some of those students find out the hard way that if they don't practice in band and do their homework, that they're not going to pass. And I do tell those beginners at the beginning of the year, just a warning, some of you, this can be the first class you've had in a long time or maybe ever, that if you don't do your homework, you're not going to pass this class. And for whatever reason, them being just younger kids, they kind of start realizing that in October. Those kids that don't practice or turn in their work, they're struggling right now. So I use this progress report for that reason, and also just to celebrate everything that we've learned. So on this progress report, it starts off with the kids actually performing for their parents at home. We do hot cross buns out of our band method book, and the kids count the rhythm to it. They set their metronome to tempo 72. They count the rhythm for hot cross buns. They daw the rhythm to align their articulation with the rhythm in their foot tap. Then they note name it, they air and finger, and then they play it. So their parents get to see this whole learning sequence and all the things that they've learned that helps them to be able to play their music. Obviously, kids that are struggling, parents will also see the things that their kid doesn't understand or is struggling with as well. After they're done playing, the students explain to their parents about what the practice expectations are for band. They talk about how much we practice, when they're supposed to practice, how many days a week, all of that stuff. They also talk about when to get their practice record signed, when we turn it in. It just talks through all of that. And rather than me always being the source of information, it really shows ownership of the kids. It's a student-led conference that way, and they get to have those conversations with their parents. I have close to 140 beginner band students, and it's just me. And to be able to parent-teacher conferences, I cannot meet with that many people. This progress report answers a lot of questions for my beginner families, especially those of families where the student is not currently passing band in the beginning of the year. The next step is they go over their assignments on our online gradebook. I'm sure most of you are like me, where your grades are now online and parents can see their student's grade at any time. The student actually goes through their band grade with their parents. They talk through why they have the grades they did. I also have on this sheet just information on different assessments, practice. That way, in case the students, you get some kids that have that learned helplessness, I don't know, it's on this sheet. So it clarifies it, and again, it answers so many parents' questions. On the back of the sheet, you'll see I have a note for parents of our students that are struggling in band that are failing band. Now, what you're going to see, my school uses a 4-3-2-1 system for grades. We don't do A, B, C, D, F. And I just have a note on there for parents of those students that are failing band, first of all, to encourage them, to let them know, even if they're failing now, as long as they start turning stuff in, they can raise their grade up. I also make it clear that I'm not going to take a mountain of late work from prior, because the most important thing is not all that work that they missed. It's moving forward, what are you going to do? That has a better impact and implication for their child than just turning in a bunch of late work as a motion to show commitment, if you will. Also on there, I have tips for students that are struggling to read music. You probably saw my prior video, we use a lot of speed note and flashcards, and I assign them studying their flashcards for weeks on end. And of course, you get kids that don't do it, and then they fall behind in band class. And again, I give strategies. The purpose of this progress report is not a gotcha. It's to help students and help parents, especially those kids that are struggling. Here's the strategies that it takes. Obviously, I have a parent signature. I collect these, and I enter them in my grade book as just what's called a work habit grade in our district. If you've never done a progress report like this before, it's really a student-led conference. I really recommend you try it. It answers so many questions for families. especially if this is a family that's never done a performance-based class like band before. It just answers a lot of questions. If you have student-teacher conferences, this cuts down on the number of parents that want to see you because it just answers so many of the questions that they have. So again, I'll post this on my website, MikePerezBand.com, and I hope you found it useful.